In the last video, you learned about the product backlog. We discussed that in order to properly build the backlog, the project manager must consider factors like description, value, order, and estimations. This ensures that you, as the project manager, will include enough information to meet the product owner's vision for the user value. User stories are short, simple descriptions of a feature told from the perspective of the user. This helps the team create a solution that's always centered around the user and the user experience. User stories might start off large and broad, or may be broken down to be as small or as specific as possible. In this lesson, we are going to give you some ideas on how to write user stories and how to break them down. User stories are made up of three different elements: the user, the action they will take, and the benefit to them. These elements might have a few different formats, but the most common is, as a user role, I want this action so that I can get this value. When writing effective user stories, the team must have a user in mind. Imagine that the user will interact with the product in order to achieve a specific outcome. What I really like to do at this stage is create personas or detailed descriptions of my different users. Sometimes I even give them names. By giving these users a name and a backstory, we can imagine them in our minds and we will design better products for them as a result. Each user story should meet 6 different criteria represented by the acronym INVEST or INVEST. I for independent. The story should be able to be started and finished by itself. It's not dependent on another story to finish it. The N stands for negotiable. There's room for negotiation and discussion about this item. The V is for valuable. This means that completing the user story has to deliver value. E is for estimable. Our definition of done must be clear so that the team can give each user story an estimate. The S is for small. Each user story need to be able to fit within a planned sprint. If that user story is too big, it should be broken down into smaller stories. Stories that are a low priority on the backlog can stay big until they become a priority for an upcoming sprint. Finally, the T is testable. A test can be written to check and make sure that it meets the acceptance criteria. While the product owner is the main person responsible for writing the user stories, the team has the responsibility to give feedback on whether the user story is clear and fits the invest criteria before they invest any time into it. In addition to the user stories, you need to know the term epic, which simply represent a group or collection of user stories. With a user story, the product owner creates something called the acceptance criteria, which is essentially the checklist you will use to decide whether the user story is done. To have a completed user story, you must meet the acceptance criteria checklist. It's natural for items higher on the priority list to have more details and fewer gray areas. By leaving these low priority items vague, this saves the team time from working on items that may end up getting deprioritized down the road. Great! In the next video, we'll discuss backlog refinement and explain relative effort estimation, t-shirt sizes, and story points. See you there.